All right, today we're going to break down some of the biggest ideas in economics. And look, these aren't just abstract theories from a textbook. Nope. These are the invisible forces that are literally shaping every single decision you make, from what you buy to your country's entire future.
You know, it all really starts with a question that every single one of us has asked at some point. Why can't we just have it all? You want the brand new phone, a fancy car, you want to go on endless vacations, and you want a massive savings account. So why not? The answer comes down to one simple but incredibly powerful idea.
And that idea is scarcity. It's really just the basic fact that what we want as humans is pretty much infinite. But the resources we have to get those things, our time, our money, raw materials, they're all limited. There just isn't enough stuff to go around to satisfy everyone's every desire. And that right there, that's the fundamental problem that kicks off the entire field of economics.
Right. So, because we can't have everything, we are constantly, and I mean constantly, forced to choose. Every single day you are making dozens of economic choices, probably without even realizing it. Do I buy this coffee or save the money? Do I binge this show or go work out? This image here is a perfect, simple example of a trade-off. Let's say you've got a certain amount of cash. You could go out and buy these awesome new shoes, or you could invest that same money. You can't do both. You have to pick one. And as we're about to see, every single choice comes with a hidden cost.
So that hidden cost, well, economists have a name for it, opportunity cost. It's not just about the money you spend, it's the value of the next best thing you had to give up. So the real cost of buying those shoes isn't just the price on the tag, it's also the potential money you lost out on by not investing it. It's what you gave up.
Let's put some numbers on this to make it super clear. Meet Akshi. He has a choice. He could work on an assignment and earn 5,000 rupees, or he could go on a solo trip which costs him 3,000 rupees out of pocket. So what's the total opportunity cost of that trip? Well, it's not just the 3,000 he spent. It's the 3,000 he spent plus the 5,000 he gave up by not working. So the true economic cost of that fun trip was actually 8,000 rupees.
Okay, so now let's zoom out, way out. This whole idea of scarcity, making choices, and opportunity cost, it doesn't just apply to you or Akshay. It applies to entire countries, just on a mind-boggling scale. A nation has to decide, should we build more schools or more roads? Do we put our money into healthcare or national defense? I mean, with millions of people and trillions of dollars on the line, how can you even begin to visualize those kinds of trade-offs?
Well, believe it or not, economists have a really clever tool for that. It's called the Production Possibility Frontier, or PPF for short. All it is really is a graph that shows all the different combinations of two things a country can produce if it uses all of its limited resources and technology perfectly.
So before we even look at the graph, let's check out the data behind it. Think of this table as a country's production menu. At possibility A, they can go all in on cotton, making 20 units, but they get 0 corn. Down at possibility G, it's the opposite. All corn, no cotton, and all the points in between show that trade-off. To get a little more corn, you have to give up some cotton. Now, when we take all those points from the table and plot them on a graph, we get this beautiful downward sloping curve. That is the production possibility frontier. It's like a visual border between what an economy can do and what it simply can't.
Now, this whole model works based on a few key ground rules. First, we have to assume that for this moment in time, the country's resources, like its workers, factories, and land, are fixed. Second, we assume all those resources are being used completely and efficiently. No one's slacking off. And third, we assume the technology isn't changing. These are just the rules of the game for this snapshot in time.
Okay, so looking at this graph, you can see that a country's production could be in one of three places. You can be right on the curve, like at points A or D. You could be inside the curve, like down at point E. Or you could be dreaming of a point outside the curve, like F. And where you are tells a completely different story about your economy.
So let's break that down. Any point that's right on the curve means the economy is being super efficient. It's firing on all cylinders, getting the absolute most from what it has. A point inside the curve, like E, means inefficiency. You've got unemployed workers, factories that are shut down. The country could be producing more. And what about a point outside the curve, like F? Well, that's impossible, at least for now.
Which, of course, leads us to the really big question. Are we stuck there? Is a country's potential locked in place forever? Well, the answer is a definite no. The frontier can absolutely move.
That's right, the entire frontier can shift, which completely changes what's possible for a country. And this generally happens for one of two big reasons. You either get more resources to work with, or you figure out a better way to use the resources you already have.
Let's quickly look at those two. First, a change in resources. This could mean anything from finding new oil reserves to having more people enter the workforce, more stuff to make things with. The second reason is a change in technology. A game-changing invention, like a more efficient engine or a powerful new software that lets you get more output from the same inputs.
So, when you get more resources or your technology gets better, the whole PPF curve pushes outward. All of a sudden, that point F that used to be impossible is now totally achievable. Now, the opposite is also true. If a country loses resources, maybe through a war or a big natural disaster, the frontier can actually shift inward, shrinking what's possible.
And this exciting outward shift of the frontier, it has a very important name. We call it economic growth. It is the visual proof that an economy is expanding its ability to produce goods and services. This is the engine that drives higher standards of living, creating everything from new medicines to better entertainment. It's how things get better. At the end of the day, the PPF is really just a powerful illustration of the tough choices every single society has to make. It forces us to look our trade-offs right in the eye and think hard about how we can best use what we have to get what we need.
So after going through all of that, what's the one big idea you should walk away with?
It's really this. The same fundamental logic applies at every level. Whether you're standing in a store figuring out how to spend your last $20, or a government is planning a national budget worth trillions, it all boils down to the same thing: making choices in a world where you can't have it all. That is what economics is all about.
And that leaves us with one final thing to think about. If the production possibility frontier shows us our current limits, it also shows us our potential for growth. So the real question for all of us is, what choices are we making today that will push that frontier outward tomorrow? What are we doing to expand our future possibilities?